This is Nibiru Hunting's story time, and this is the story of the Zodiac. To the ancients, as yet inventors of no astronomical instruments, and observing the sky of stars with the eyes of children, this earth was a level plain of unknown extent. About its boundaries there was a speculation but no knowledge. The inequalities of its surface were irregularities of the plane. That it was a globe, or that anything lived on its surface, or on what it rested, they could not say. Every 24 hours the sun came up from the eastern rim of the world and traveled across the sky. Over the earth, always south of, but sometimes nearer and sometimes further from the point overhead, and then sunk below the world's rim. With him went light, and after him followed darkness. And every 24 hours appeared in the heavens another body visible chiefly at night, but sometimes even when the sun shone, as if following the sun at a greater or lesser distance. It traveled across the sky, sometimes as a crescent, and then increasing in size to become a full disk of silver light, known as the moon. Sometimes more and sometimes less to the southward of the point overhead, within the same limits as the sun. Man, enveloped in the thick darkness of profound night, when everything around him has disappeared, alone he feels his existence and is a blank nothingness, except so far as memory recalls to him or her the glories of light. How overwhelming the dread at the thought that perhaps the darkness may be eternal and the day may not possibly return. The darkness has always driven away such hope of light, closing in on him like a wall, suffocating his senses, the certainty that all the known world is passing away. What can restore man to himself? And nature seemed lost to him. Light. Primitive man naturally regarded light as the principle of their real existence. This necessity for light and its actual creative energy was felt by all people, and nothing was made more alarming than its absence. It became our first divinity, a single ray of which, flashing into the dark, tumultuous bosom of chaos, caused man and all of the universe to emerge from it. Light was, and is, the life of the universe, the friend of man, the substance of gods, and the soul. The sky was to them a great solid concave arch, a hemisphere of unknown material at an unknown distance above the flat level of the earth. And along it journeyed in their courses the sun, the moon, and the planets, as well as the stars. Not only like the day was the sun feared not to return, over the course of a year the influence of the sun, like the moon, was felt to wax and wane. It was soon divided 4 ways, into solstices and equinoxes. As we marked the birth of the sun, the death of the sun, and its eventual rebirth in the spring. In the course of the year, or the circle, the renewal and periodic appearance of productions of the earth were constantly associated, not only with the sun, but also with the rising and setting of certain stars and their position relative to the sun. The Ethiopians of Thebes and their neighbors styled those stars under which the Nile commenced to overflow, stars of inundation, or those that poured out water, as in the sign of Aquarius. Those stars among which the sun was when he had reached the northern tropic and began to retreat southward were termed, from his retrograde motion, the crab, or Cancer. As he approached in autumn the middle point between the northern and southern extremes of his journey, the days and nights became equal. The stars among which he was then found were called the stars of balance, or Libra. Those stars among which the sun was at harvest were then called those of the gleaning virgin, holding a sheaf of wheat, Virgo. Those stars among which the sun were when the lion, driven from the desert by thirst, came to slake it at the Nile, were called the stars of the lion Leo. And those stars among which he was found, under which the hot and burning winds came from the desert, venomous like poisonous reptiles, were called the stars of the scorpion, or Scorpio. Those stars among which he was found in February when the ewes brought forth their young were called the star of the lamb, or Aries. and those in March, when it was time to plow, were called the stars of the ox, Taurus. In observing the annual return of the rising of the Nile was always accompanied by the appearance of a beautiful star, which at that time showed itself in the direction of the sources of the Nile, and it seemed to warn the husbandman to be careful not to be surprised by the coming inundation and flooding. The Ethiopian compared this timely warning to that of the animal which by barking gives warning of danger, and it styled it the dog star Sirius.